Ambassador Michael Oren. He's the former Israeli ambassador to the United States. He's a member of the Israeli Knesset. Mr. Ambassador, can you hear me?
I hear you fine, Bud.
So what can you tell us about what you're learning? You're apparently not very far from the Sarona marketplace where this attack took place.
I'm not, about walking distance, and the area's been shut off by a massive police and security forces. And this is an area which is a very popular site for residents of Tel Aviv as well as for tourists. It's a former settlement of German missionaries from the 1860s and 1870s that has been renovated into an upscale restaurant and shopping area. Very popular, very beautiful. And the terrorists, what we're hearing here, were dressed as businessmen. Some people have described them looking like lawyers. They are apparently there were two of them at least that we know of who were from the same village in the West Bank near Hebron. There are celebrations in that village tonight, and Hamas in Gaza has just come out and called these killers heroes. They have killed 3 Israeli citizens that we know of so far, and seriously wounded 4.
And we know, Mr. Oren, as you have been watching and been living in this area for a great deal of time, we here in the U.S. have been following the primaries and the presidential elections. Explain for our American audience the sense over the past few months with these stabbing attacks. What has the mood been in Israel, especially towards these apparently random incidents that then tend to overtake the area?
So here's a real distinction, Lena, that starting last October, Israel was the target of a series of mostly stabbing attacks that were spontaneous and carried out by young Palestinians, overwhelmingly from the West Bank, stabbing with knives, with scissors. And Israel was challenged in a way that it hadn't been before because usually there was what we call an address behind these attacks. There was Hamas or Islamic Jihad or even ISIS was behind the attacks, and Israel was able to then target the leaderships, the people who had dispatched these attackers. In most cases, these were Palestinians who woke up in the morning and decided to take a knife and go out and stab Israelis. This attack is significantly different. This has all the signs of having been very carefully planned and targeted. This, again, is a very popular tourist site and a restaurant and upscale shopping site for Israelis. It is immediately on the other side of the street of Israel's equivalent of the Pentagon, right across the street. So clearly this was targeted. The terrorists, from what we're learning on Israeli media, were disguised as businessmen. They had automatic weapons. This actually seems like a attack that was planned by an organization and was not spontaneously mounted.
Mr. Ambassador, we now know that Prime Minister Netanyahu, who has just returned from Russia, has called an emergency meeting at the equivalent of our Pentagon, which, as you point out, is across the street from the Sarona marketplace. What can we expect to come out of that meeting, and what can we expect in the hours and days ahead as far as a response?
Well, this is the first test for our new defense minister, and I have to put my cards on the table. I'm a member of Knesset, and my party is a centrist party that is part of the coalition. The new defense minister is from a right-wing party, and his name is Avigdor Lieberman, and he has come into office promising to adopt a stronger position against terrorist attacks, and this is the first major terrorist attack that has happened on his watch. And as I said earlier, it is not a stabbing by a lone attacker. It shows every indication of having been a terrorist attack mounted with automatic weapons. They've already found a magazine belonging to one of the terrorists, and it is not a magazine of a simple weapon. It's an automatic weapon, and this will be certainly a test for the new defense minister and his approach to terror.
And we know Mr. Lieberman is very, very defiant when it comes to speaking out against these types of terror attack. He represents a constituency that is far more right-wing, far more conservative. What do you expect his response to be? And do you feel that your country is turning a different corner now following this shooting?
Well, I do not think the country is turning a different corner. We've been dealing with terror basically since the moment of our creation in 1948 for 68 years now. We managed to keep a lid on things. We go right back to functioning. The Sarona area where this terrorist attack occurred, I guarantee will be filled with people from Tel Aviv again tomorrow night. But the defense minister, during the 2014 war in Gaza, the Protective Edge campaign, was very adamant in saying that Israel should have gone into Gaza, should have uprooted Hamas. Now that Hamas is praising this operation, one has to ask the question whether now this defense minister will take a stronger stand against Hamas in Gaza if Hamas does take credit for this action, which it hasn't. It has praised it so far, but has not taken credit for it.
Ambassador Michael Oren, former Israeli ambassador to the United States, we thank you, sir, for your perspective.